What you fixing to see now went into the evidence in the King trial where they brought a wrongful death suit, and I'll explain that to you quickly in a minute. But what you fixing to witness now is the man who came by to get King to take him to dinner. And 30 years later at a press conference, he slipped because God do baffle your mind sometimes. You look.
Some of the activities are geared especially for the young who did not have a chance to get to feel or to know what the civil rights movement actually was about. Even as they marched, now they could have stopped in a hotel, but when you think about marching from Memphis to Jackson or Jackson to Memphis, there were no hotels. You stayed in churches, you stayed in people's homes, and that's how we got over, that's how we got through. The struggle was a spiritual struggle. You couldn't pay people to do what we had to do. You couldn't pay people to stand before mad dogs and fire hoses and billy clubs and cattle prods. It was strictly a spiritual and moral movement. So we wanted that dimension to be in the pure.
All right, he goes on to talk about the experience. You know, so I just want to forward this a little bit so you can check something out. Because it bugged me out what he said.
Phone and call Dr. King, and any of the marches that we had in those days, you have an opportunity to bring the children and bring the family and march with us. And when I finish...
Okay, I have to forward this a little bit more. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is crazy. He's speaking about the last minutes. He's talking about... Yeah, he's talking about the last minutes of Dr. King's life. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's life, you know. So he's speaking on the last hour of his life, because, you know, him as well as, you know, one other guy, and then there was Martin Luther King. And so I think there was about 3 of them in the hotel room right before he got shot.
We should talk about when they get together.
Y'all pay attention to what you're fixing to hear now.
About 5:45, we walked on the balcony, and he was talking to people in the courtyard. He stood here and I stood there. Only as I moved away, so he could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then I stood back on the balcony.
Yo, did you hear that?
Listen.
Wait, listen. Listen. 30 years later, his brother never realized that he would slip and say that. Do you know what happened when you sit in a jury room about a conspiracy and this piece of film is introduced? He stood here, I stood here, only as I moved away so he could have a clear shot. The shot rang out.